Okay, we might kick off. Thank you for joining, everyone. My name's Amy Legner from Rugby Australia and I'm the Systems Manager. So we're going to talk about Rugby Explorer tonight. A couple of housekeeping things. There were 107 people who registered for the session. We're up to 52, so a couple of other people might join throughout the session. We are recording it. I'll send it to Erin Morton and Stephen O'Brien, and I'm sure they'll distribute it along with the PowerPoint as well. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat and I'll try and answer them then or there, or if it's coming up, we can answer it when it comes up. So what we're going to cover tonight is we're going to go through a bit of a Rugby Explorer overview, talk about the advisory committee, the Rugby Explorer apps, some My Account, registrations, comp management, and then we'll finish with a Rugby Match Day app demonstration. So first of all, the overview. So the Rugby Explorer download numbers. So as of last week, the Rugby Explorer app, which is available for everyone, you don't necessarily need to sign in. However, individuals can register through the app, and then people can also follow teams or clubs and then favorite their competitions as well. So just over 170,000 downloads for the Rugby Explorer app. And then the Rugby Match Day app, which is required for all team admins for their live scoring of games on the weekend. You do need a login in order to be able to use the Match Day app. Otherwise, they'll log in and it will say not currently available. So there's 18,000 downloads for the Match Day app. So the next couple of slides are just going to show you how Rugby Explorer has been used over the last couple of years. So if we remember back to 2019, our last sort of normal year with no COVID, rugby is a winter sport, so you can see the peaks and troughs between April and September. It's the main season, so the peaks then, and then through the summer months there are NT and some Far North Queensland comps at play, plus we had a lot of national championships happening then too. Then we moved into 2020, so the year was going quite well, and then sort of mid-March the world turned upside down. Nothing really happened for a couple of months. Most comps, with the exception of a couple, were able to get back and continue playing. And then 2021, so it was a little bit slower to get off, and then games were played. Unfortunately, a lot of us in New South Wales were locked down for 4 months, so that didn't happen so much, but it definitely in the other states was able to continue playing. And then this is it this year so far. We can see the two big peaks are the two February registrations, the 2 weekends in Feb. So we're tracking quite nicely so far. 1 second, just got a question about the... So customer service, so we have our Rugby Explorer customer service team. If we look back from 2020, the sort of first year of Rugby Explorer in terms of registrations and comp management, so about 3,500 cases, and they took about 3 days to close, but they are going way better now. There's less cases. They're also closing them much quicker, but I also think the introduction of our help website, which has had sort of 14,000 views last year from mid-February. That's when it was released, and then compared to this year, we're already at 8,000 views. So it's similar to the self-help guides, just more interactive. You can type in registration and lots of articles will come up. So the customer service team are available Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And then if you got the EDM that was sent out on Monday, they are also opening on Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. starting the 3rd of April. So if we move on to the advisory committee, so every state has one representative with the exception of Queensland and New South Wales. So you guys are lucky in that you have 3. So Stephen O'Brien from a country perspective, Nicole from Newcastle Hunter, and then also John Glenn from Sydney Juniors. So we meet every 3 weeks on Zoom to discuss the development and anything else that's kind of happening in the rugby admin sphere. We talk about the development priorities and things like that. And then once a year we get together face to face. So we weren't able to get together in 2020, but last year we were able to get into 2 locations, half the people in Brisbane, then half the people in Sydney, based on the border restrictions. And we went through all of the development requirements, so everything that was in the backlog, plus all of the requirements or proposals that you have submitted. So if you have anything, you can go to one of your representatives and they're your voice on the committee, so they can kind of help prioritize, make sure that sort of what New South Wales clubs and comps want are prioritized accordingly. So the Rugby Explorer app, so I'm not too sure if you've downloaded and updated your app. So the latest update, if you're on Android, went sort of around midnight on Monday night. The Apple one, Apple just likes to take a little bit longer to approve everything. That one was approved at 5:49 yesterday morning, and the portal was also updated. So in the Rugby Explorer app recently, it's had some sign-up process changes. You'll also notice that all the mobile numbers now have like a little flag, so that we can add international mobile numbers as well. So the news pulls from your Facebook feeds if you set them up in the Rugby Explorer app. Videos will change to red when there are live videos available. You can favorite your comp. You can favorite one comp by clicking the little star. You can register for all club and rugby events. And then we've also changed one of the registration things. So custom question, saleable item, all in the updated app. But you may have noticed that the privacy question has been removed from the registration. So we found that that affected senior clubs more, where there were a lot of players picking to be private and their name was coming up as name withheld. So we've removed that from the registration process. We felt that because it was there, they liked to click it. So it's been removed now. It's still in their profile, so they can definitely still update it. As a club admin, you can download the club contact report and you'll be able to report on anyone who's private or public. If there is anyone that you think should be willing to have their name up, there are some instances where, you know, child protection or undercover cops or things like that, where there are legitimate reasons to have their name hidden. They can keep it as private. Otherwise, you can ask people to change it so it becomes public. If they do it in their profile, they're most likely to forget about it, and then it won't be in the registration, so they're not tempted to change it again. So make sure everyone's updated the apps. So the My Profile, so we made some changes where the age has been removed and replaced with My Rugby ID. Lots of people like to know their My Rugby ID, and a lot of other people don't want to see their age every time they log in. So date of birth is a locked field. If there is anyone at your club who may have registered with an incorrect date of birth, if you can send the name, My Rugby ID, and a form of ID with the correct date of birth to the customer service team, they can update that quite quickly for you. So the My Credit, so anyone who's requested a sort of refund or credit through Rugby Explorer, the credits will appear under their My Credits. They're an automatic discount that's applied to the next registration. They're automatically deducted, so no one can hoard all their credits and then not pay anything for a couple of years. The credit will automatically be deducted the next time that they register. And then consent forms are now available for everyone. We're going to talk about that in a few slides' time. So that's all the dispensation updates. So credits and refunds. So this came out about 3 years ago, sort of late before the season rollover. So any player who has a senior registration, a season registration, can request a Rugby Explorer credit or refund through the system. There are a few caveats. So anyone who's paid with ZipPay or the New South Wales Active Kids vouchers won't be able to request them online. As per the New South Wales Services rules, New South Wales Active Kids cannot be refunded for cash. And then last year with COVID, they came out with a big announcement that if the clubs got the money from the New South Wales Active Kids and no comps actually got played, the clubs are still entitled to that money. So they could keep that. So when someone has requested a refund or a credit, their preference has been selected in the drop down, but you as a club or an association have the option to change that. Whether they requested a cash and you want to give them a credit, it's up to you. But all 4 levels, so club, association, state and national, will need to review and either approve or decline it. Once all 4 of them have been reviewed, it will come to Rugby Australia as a national body and it's processed. So if it's a Rugby Explorer credit that they requested, it will go onto their record within 24 hours. A cash refund will take between 5 and 10 business days and will appear on the individual's credit card statement, but close to their registration date. So if they registered in January and then they're requesting the refund in March and it's processed in March, if they look at their credit card statement around January, that's where they'll see that refund. If any entity approves the request, the player's registration will change to inactive. So that's very important. So there's been a couple that have come through this year where the reason doesn't say that they don't want to play, they just might need money for rent or something like that. So in those instances, we do recommend that everyone declines the request so that the player's registration remains active and they can continue playing, and that can be handled offline. But if anyone does approve the request, it will change to inactive. Important to note that if you want to give a cash refund, you need an entity card. So that's a credit or debit card set up in Rugby Explorer. It can be like a Visa prepaid credit card that you can get from the post office, but that will need to have sufficient funds, and you probably want to check that it's all updated for this year and your cards are still valid, because we do get some errors when we try to process it and it may come up saying the card has been declined for insufficient funds, and then it'll tell us at which entity that has occurred at. So there are some instances where you want to give a cash refund, but you might not have an entity card and the player's not happy with a credit. So you can always decline that sort of portion, and then you can put a note that the player will need to contact the club separately or offline, so that you can do that offline. That's up to the club. So we just had a question, so how can we delist someone without them requesting a refund? E.g. they've registered but never showed up. Not sure, but what you're quite asking for there, if you want to like sort of remove them from your list, they'll still stay on your list, but you can always just not add them into a squad. And if they're not added into a squad, they can't get selected on a team list, so they won't be able to play, essentially. So the manual refund request form should only be used for those people who have done Zip Pay or New South Wales Active Kids. If we can get everything else online through Rugby Explorer, then that will make it much easier and smoother. The paper forms often do get lost. We are also looking at a way in that Zip Pay and Active Kids players can request the refund online. So then it will be all online and reducing the paper trail. All good. Any other questions about credits or refunds? All good. So consent forms and dispensations. So this has been quite a bit of a change this season, where we're trying to make everything online and again trying to reduce the paper trail. So size for age dispensations for juniors was in Rugby Explorer and was online last year. So that's where it calculates and junior players' age, gender, height and weight, and they may fall either under or over height and weight. And then if they fall outside the guidelines on both, they'll receive an email where they have to do a mandatory assessment. There might be some where they fall outside of one, and then they'll get an email about optional assessment. Important to note that sometimes the parents may just look at the child and take a wild guess. We have seen some 10-year-olds who are 2 meters tall. That is very tall for a 10-year-old, but may happen. But if not, what you can do is you can get the parent to measure and weigh the child. Some clubs are also doing this as well. This is the first step that any assessing coach does. So if you can weigh and measure the child, the parent can update the child's profile and it will recalculate, and they may actually fall within the guidelines and it will say you no longer require an assessment. Club admins can also update this in the member management page, where you can update the height and weight, and then again the system will calculate. So that is probably a good thing to do, and then you can get the size for age dispensation report. So that was in there last year. The new ones that have come up are the senior rugby, age grade, and front row. So with these, there's an extra step. So the individual will request it, and then you as a club admin will be able to either approve or decline that request. So if you as a club admin know that player, you may know that player is not quite ready for senior rugby, so you can decline that request and then the process stops. Otherwise, you can approve it, and then that's where it will go to the competition manager to assign an assessing coach. The assessing coach will receive an email where they can, sort of make sure that they're all good. Depending on the comp, there's different things that happen in the comp. Some comps do a standard gala day where everyone is assessed at once. Others are organized ad hocly. So up to you up to your competition really. And then, yes, so once the assessing coach has filled in their form, it goes back to the association admin. They've had a recommendation, and then they will add that dispensation onto the individual's record. Late last year, we got some new sort of help videos made. There's one for the individual submitting the consent form and starting the dispensation process, and then there's also one for the assessing coach. So it might be a good idea to send that to assessing coaches from your club, just so they know to expect the email and then what to do. So they log in through their portal and can enter in all the forms via their portal. As a side note, mixed gender, gender identity, and disability are still a paper form. They require a doctor's sign off, and we're just not sure how to get the doctors into Rugby Explorer as of yet. Just looking at some questions. So a player looks like a season-ending injury at training, paid season fees. If we sought a refund, would this affect his claim? So each level of the refund is assessed. So insurance, state, association, and club. So if they had an injury, the insurance is 100% going to be declined, but they can still claim against that insurance. So they won't get that portion refunded. They may get part or some or all of the other 3 components based on the reason and everything, but that player can still request or submit an insurance claim through Aon. So where does the club admin adjust a player's height and weight? So that's in the member management page. So under members, member management. So you search for the player, click into their record, and can update accordingly, and then you save the changes. Perfect. Any other questions about dispensations? So I think our aim is that this is sort of a learning curve, kind of like with the size for age. It's all online, and there will be instances where you may need to use a paper, or what's happened in some comps is the player requests a refund on Friday and they of course want to play on Saturday. So up to sort of your comp managers. We're making some enhancements in April, just doing some minor tweaks to the dispensations, and then it should all be good. So next season, I definitely see it being all online for those 4 dispensations, and this year can be a learning curve. So registration update. So important that everyone updates the app for these changes to take place. So there's some info icons on the role, the duration. Profile photo has automatically been resized. Country of origin and heritage also have info icons. So the difference between those is the country of origin is the country that an individual was born in, and then the heritage. They may identify as Australian or Pacifica, African. There's a list for them to choose from. So a lot of clubs use the heritage to say they may have 40% Pacifica playing population, and then they can go to their local council or sort of local government and request some sort of funding based on their heritage of their players. So that's why both of them are in there. And the privacy question has been removed, plus the custom questions and saleable items updates are also in there. So admins, so this is now the sort of third year of Rugby Explorer. We recommend that you download the club admin sort of users report, and you can check if there's any old presidents, old secretaries or anything like that that still have access to your club that probably should not. So you can always go through and remove them. It's just on the club admins. Team admins are sort of rolled over each season because the team admin is connected to a team in a comp in a season, and they're rolled over as part of the season rollover, but club admins do remain. So always good to check on the admin users report at the beginning of each year. Photos are not mandatory in the system, but if a competition requires them, then you can make them mandatory. An individual can upload their photo or a selfie through the registration process. If they skip it, they can always go back into their portal and update the photo as well. So the My Club details. So the My Club section has changed into 4 different tabs. So we're going to talk about the 4 different tabs. So the details tab hasn't really changed that much, but always good to definitely check your club address because the Finder Club will look at the postcode, and that's how it searches. The Australian Sports Foundation number is new. So if anyone has given you a club donation, the club will need to be set up under the Australian Sports Foundation. It is free. There's steps in the latest EDM that went out on Monday, but that just ensures that the way that the club donations work is to get a tax deduction. It's sort of sent to the Australian Sports Foundation, who are don't have to pay tax, so then they come back to you. So this will be good for you. The certificate of currency has also been updated. So last year the insurance changed, and you'll see that it will be valid until sort of mid-December this year, and then a new one will come in December. The contacts, so the main contact has just been moved from the details tab to this tab at the top. You can always change that, but then there is an option to add additional contacts as you wish. There's no limit. They will all display on the club finder, so maybe 3 or 4 might be a good number. 15 maybe a little bit too many. So the game format, so this is how you can illustrate or display to new participants who are looking on the club finder what game formats and sort of what ages you offer. So this club is a 7s for senior men's and senior women's. This will display on the club finder. You can have multiple game formats, so 7s and 15s, up to you. And then the last one is the website. So mid-December last year, all clubs and associations were given a free Rugby Explorer website. The URL path is pre-populated, but if you click on this little icon, it will take you to the websites. So that way you can see what there is. All your fixtures and results will automatically pull once a competition has created them for 2022, or 2021s may also show there as well. When team admins are live scoring on the weekend, the websites will automatically be updated. So everyone was defaulted to a free subscription. You can always upgrade to Pro for a monthly subscription fee. Your Facebook page has also been just sort of taken across. You can add YouTube, Instagram, Twitter as well. And then you can also change your primary and secondary colors. Everyone was just given the primary and secondary colors of Rugby Explorer, but you can update that. So my account details, so always good just to check this. If you haven't changed your bank account details from last year, then you don't need to do anything. They'll just roll over. If you have changed them, it's important that your KYC, which stands for Know Your Client, is verified. So they need to be verified in order for your registrations to open. The other 3 statuses that you may see would be absent. So it means that you haven't started the KYC process, in progress, you're kind of halfway through, or review required. So sometimes if your name is Nicholas, but you go by Nick, and you typed in Nick, but your driver's license is Nicholas, then that's often going to sort of flag. If there are any issues, you can call or email PIN payments. They're quite responsive. If it's sort of the Nick Nicholas situation, they're quite good at resolving that. So you want it to be verified. Yes, I will send the recording and the PowerPoints to Erin Morton and Stephen O'Brien, and they will be able to distribute. So the entity card, so we talked about this. If you want to approve cash refund requests, you require an entity card. There'll be an error if you don't have an entity card and try and give a cash refund. If you're going to give any club card discounts, which we'll talk about in a couple of slides, plus also the website pro subscription requires an entity card. So the entity card is quite important. There are ways to get around these things if you wish. Otherwise, you can add one in and it will be able to process cash refunds, club cards, and if you want to upgrade to the pro subscription for the website. So the payment settings, so these will all be there from last year. What we just do is we just change the status from open to closed. That means that you as a club have a choice as to when you want to open them, gives you time to review all of your fees if you need to change anything. Based on your competition, so there's options for season, monthly and weekly. I'd highly recommend that you don't open monthly or weekly till closer to your season because they're purely date range based. And if someone registers for a weekly today and there's no games to play, they're just going to pay for a week and not be able to play any games. Monthly and weekly also don't receive any conversion discounts. So important to note that you have player, manager, coach, volunteer. Your match official, social member is optional. The coach one is really important. There are a couple of clubs who didn't have that last year, but the coach development education managers in each of the states are they would like to see more coaches registered because they also run reports on the number of coaches that are registered compared to the number of players. Coach is important for team sheets as well. Most of the non-playing member roles, are generally free. So if they can register as a coach, that's definitely a good idea. So the training only participant registration, so no one needs to set that up. That will just automatically appear for everyone. It's just a purely insurance component. No one else can add anything onto that, but that will just automatically appear for all clubs. Don't need to do anything to set up training only. So if a club doesn't have an entity card, New South Wales Rugby and insurance be refunded, then the club can handle the refund directly. So each of the 4 levels approve or decline their portion. If they approve it and if it's a cash refund, so let's say New South Wales, the state fee is refunded and that's a cash refund, then the individual will get that cash refund. If the association is approved, but that's a credit, they could get that portion as a credit. If the club wants to handle it offline, so that's declined, so that will be declined. So if they get it refunded, each level is sort of refunded as per the request or how it's processed. So each level could be different. Does that answer the question? Yep, great. So saleable items. So there are definitely a lot of clubs in New South Wales who use these. Last year, I saw lots of nice little pretty pictures for the products, which is good. So you can have a picture, a name, a description. You can restrict the roles that see it. So you may only want the players and coaches to be able to buy this t-shirt. You can reduce the number of quantity that they can buy. You can have a link that links to different sizing options or things like that. You can order them based on if you want to have them ordered. You can tick whether they need to buy it or not. There are some clubs that want to know the sizes for socks and shorts. they make it a zero price, but they make it required, so that even though people have to tick it, even though it's a zero cost. So, and then there's the display list. So the size list is a generic size list. Sometimes what clubs do is if they have only got 2 sizes left, they would create 2 different items, one called Rhino's t-shirt medium and the other Rhino's t-shirt large. So that will work as well. How do we do registration of senior and junior members at different rates? So senior and junior players need to register into different clubs. You might be the same club, but you'll have both a junior and a senior entity. So they will register into that. All juniors will be calculated based on their age. If there is any under 18 or under 17 players who are playing both juniors and seniors, they'll need to register to both. They'll need a clearance, and then they'll also need to be able to pay the conversion. So for example, if they register as a junior player, that's $25 insurance. When they register as a senior, it is $80, provided they're both season registrations. On the second registration, they'll pay $55. You can only purchase saleable items through the registration process at the moment. We are looking at how we can have like a little shop or sell saleable items outside of the registration, but that's still in the backlog for now. Match officials only have 1 club. So based on your region, I think you might be from Far North Coast refs, Matt, maybe, not sure. But there are general clubs for refs. So like Far North Coast refs, Mid North Coast refs, Central North refs. In Sydney, there are a couple. There's like Sydney North, Sydney Rugby referees. So there's a couple, but I would say generally match officials have 1 club based on the area or the region that you're repping. Oh, sorry, senior and junior members for referees. So yes, that is just the 1 club. Oh, sorry, Matt. Didn't realize you were asking about registrations for refs. Yep, all refs can register into 1 club. If you're a player, you need to register to either the junior or the senior club. So the fees breakdown page, so this has been updated, so it includes any mandatory saleable items. So if you're doing touch 7s get into rugby, there's some mandatory saleable items in that. The grand total will also include the 2% transaction fee. So there was always a note at the top of the page that there would be a 2% transaction fee, and then now the grand total just shows you exactly what the individual will pay. So in this instance, a 25-year-old player who's registering for the season under 15s men's will pay $214.97. We just had a question about referees joining more than 1 association. Definitely, referees can join as many associations as they wish. Similar to coaches, coaches may be a coach in the junior and the senior club. That's fine, they can register, no clearance for them. The clearances are just for the players. So with the discounts, you can offer an early bird discount, whether it's a dollar amount or a percentage. Family discount, so this often happens in juniors where there are families with multiple children, and if they all register in the same flow, they may get $20 off for the second kid, $30 off for the third kid. It's all calculated off the club component. If you want to give an individual discount, so you can use the discount code, so the club discount. So you may just want to give someone $50 off your club fee, and you can send them a unique code. So one-time use code in the admin portal. You can check if the discount code is active, or if it's been redeemed, or if it's been expired. So it does expire a month after you've sent it to them. Then there's the club card. So sometimes if a player has brought in a sponsor, the club says, Bobby, you're great. we're going to pay for your registrations. So even though Bobby still needs to register himself, the club said, we'll pay. They send Bobby a unique discount code. He puts it in similar to just the club discount, and then it will deduct everything. So Bobby doesn't have to pay, but it's going to charge the entity card. So custom questions. So this is new, was released sort of mid-Feb. So each level, club, association, state, and national, have the ability to add a maximum of 3 custom questions. So 3 was chosen because if all 4 levels add 3 questions, that's 12 questions, which would be the same amount of questions that are already in the registration flow. One of Rugby's advantages is that our registration is quite quick and not a lot of questions. So, and we're just adding 1 extra page to the registration flow. So depending on how many of the levels have added questions, they'll appear on 1 page. You can ask a question, whatever you like. There's question types, so you can have multiple choice or free text field. You can have linked URLs. So sometimes people may ask, you know, do you agree to the club's code of conduct? And then you would link to your website that has your code of conduct. You can restrict the role. So you may only want players to complete your code of conduct, your payment settings, and the duration as well. Some other questions that some clubs want to ask in juniors, some of them want to know specifically if the player or a parent is willing to have their child's photo on Facebook or social media. In the Rugby AU terms and conditions, there is a clause that they do agree to having their photo and image used for marketing purposes. So some just want to sort of spell it out. Others like to ask if there's any specific illnesses or anything like that, like epilepsy, diabetes, something like that. So you don't have to ask the questions. You can, it's up to you. Just remember it's a maximum of 3 questions at any level. And then the questions will download in the registration report, or the answers, sorry. So registration clearances. So these will happen sort of in season. It's just in season. So if a player is already registered for 2022 and then wants to play with another club or move to another club, they'll need to request a clearance. The club and association that they're leaving, plus the club and association that they're moving to, are all going to be notified. It's just the club and association that they're leaving that needs to approve or decline it. If it is declined, the process stops. So accreditation, so this is going to be very important, especially as next week, as of the 1st of April, Smart Rugby does expire for a lot of individuals. So I would definitely make sure that your coaches are registered, and then also check when their Smart Rugby expires, because across Australia, coaches will need to be Smart Rugby qualified in order to be able to be put on a team sheet. So definitely important that you check that. These 3 people here are all going to expire in 2 weeks, so I need to get onto them. You can use the accreditation page. This one, you can have multi accreditation. So if you want to know if someone has Smart Rugby and level 1, you can change it for all roles. It is up to you. You can see if anyone's expired. They might have expired last year and they can just redo it this year. Sorry, I'm just going to answer the question. So will they stay registered with the first club? So a double registration. So if you do a clearance, yes, they do stay registered at both. That is completely fine. There are some players who might play, you know, in a Sydney junior comp on Friday night and then play sort of Central Coast on the Saturday. That's completely fine. So there are instances where they do want 2 registrations. If they're a junior player and a senior player, they'll need 2 registrations. Sorry. Sorry, we had a question about the custom questions. So you can ask, have they read the club's code of conduct and not let them go on? Yep. So if you would word the question like, have you read the club's terms and code of conduct, and then the only option that they can select is yes. So if they tick it, then you assume that they have read it. We all know how everyone reads it. So with the clearance, yes, the player will request this when they're registering. So if they're already registered and they go to register to another club, the system will say, hold on, you're already registered, please request a clearance. They need to enter in a reason as to why they want the clearance. They submit that, and that triggers the notifications to everyone. So if someone has a profile but they're not registered to the club, can we find out if they have any accreditations? So the individual will see all of their accreditations on their profile, but clubs won't be able to see them in this accreditation report unless they're registered. So highly recommend that you get all your non-playing members registered. It is free, so hopefully they can register, and then you can sort of check their accreditations. Similarly, if they get registered as a coach, then they might be flagged with the New South Wales coaching team that, you know, they've done Smart Rugby and level 1. Maybe they'd like to go up to a level 2 this year. All that sort of stuff is linked into the registration. So communications email. So, oh, sorry, just had another question. Very hard to get a few to do the rego. Oh, sorry about that, Romy. You can tell them that if they're not registered, they can't coach. Can't get put on a team sheet, so they can't coach. So the communications email. So I've seen a lot of clubs do use this functionality. So it's just sort of a standard email that looks like this. It's just HTML text, but you can filter it based on if you just want to email your players or your coaches. You could email a specific squad as well. Just a little email. The filters are quite good. So the email is sent from no reply at Rugby Explorer. Can't get it to send to the club as of yet. It does have your club name at the bottom, and the club admin will receive the email. But we can definitely put that in the backlog and see if we can make that happen, Jeff. I'm just going to write that down. So the no reply sometimes gets stopped by spam filters. Yes, we've also found that some people have received your email and then they've unsubscribed, and then they might complain that they haven't got your emails. It's because they've unsubscribed. So they can always just find that email and resubscribe, or if they're getting really stuck, they can email the customer service team and we can sort of override the unsubscribe for them. So push notifications. So this isn't as popular as the emails that I found, but you can definitely send a push notification. People have often found that the calculated target group is lower than the email send. That's because individuals need to be logged into the Rugby Explorer app in order to receive the push notification. Similar filters in that you can just send to players or to coaches. The notification is much smaller because it just appears on your phone. There is a limit of 2 per hour that each entity can send. But this one's often good if it's like training cancelled tonight, something like that, to try and get out quickly to people where they might be driving or not reading their emails. If they're driving, they shouldn't be looking at their phone, but maybe there might be someone else in the car. So competition cases. So this is a good thing where you can see anyone in your club who may be suspended for a red card or received a blue card. So you can, there's a little button now that you can just tick for all competitions, and you can see all your competitions that any of your teams may participate in. Here we can see that this was an injury. They are available and it has been resolved. So you can always click into any of the cases. The competition manager or association admin will be responsible for making that player available or sort of suspending them out. But if it's a red card, they went to judiciary and they're suspended for 2 weeks, the competition manager will go in and say that they become available on the 4th of April. you'll be able to see that as well. You can, as a club admin, you can create a case. Some clubs like to create the case if someone at their club has gotten a blue card or, sorry, received a concussion in either another sport or maybe at school. They're just looking after the well-being of the player and putting that in so it's sort of notified, looking after the player. So the member management, so this is under members and then member management. So this is where you can search for anyone who's registered to your club, and this is where you can update your height and weight. So this player, Olympic Spirit, who's born in 2006, is 2 meters tall and 100 kilos. So 16-year-old, maybe very tall, very high. But this is where you can always update it. Maybe mum or dad entered it in incorrectly. You'll also be able to see the incidents and injuries. So if anyone has received an injury or incident, maybe in a previous season, you can see that. If they're new to your club, you'll be able to see that. You can see an individual's accreditation, registrations, plus any dispensations. So the member management is sort of a full look at the individual that a club admin can see. So the reports, so we've organised all of the reports into one section. Last year, we had the ability that you could unselect specific columns. As of 2 weeks ago, there's now a little button that you can click to unselect all of the columns at once, and then you can just select the columns that you want to display in the report. You can go back to a lot of the reports back to 2019, 2020. There are a couple that don't do that. So the dispensation reports plus the accreditation reports. So that's just looking at the current season registration. So the accreditation report is always a good one to download at the end of the season. In case someone hasn't registered, you can quickly check when they're all going to expire if they haven't registered yet. So is it possible that the training only participants from the junior club don't appear on the senior club? So that would be because they've registered to the senior club as a training only instead of the junior club. So we can't remove them from the report. Hopefully we can educate the player better to register into the correct club. If they are a 10-year-old and they're registered as a training only into the senior club, they won't be able to register as a player in the senior club. It will definitely stop them. So teams and non-player management. So based on your competition, some competition managers like to create all the teams themselves. Some get the clubs to create them, but this is where you can see your teams with the name, any age grade or abbreviation, the age level, and then what season. So they'll all be in the current season. Non-player management. So this is where we can go in and edit anyone's role that may have registered. So Crystal may be a manager and a ground marshal. So we could add that into her record. So the squad management, so I'm just going to change into the test environment now. Does everyone see a orange bar at the top with the admin portal? Great, thank you. So this is just a test environment. That's why it's yellow. So under members, the non-player management. So this is where we can say that maybe Jamie is our coach, but also our ground marshal. So we can save that. If we go into the squad, so I'm going to be the under 16. So everyone on the right-hand side here has been added into the squad. We can always filter based on a name or an age or a gender. If we try and add in someone who doesn't fit the age level, so Angus is only 10, but this is under 16s, it's going to be blocked and he won't be able to be added in. We can always see if there's anyone who's 16. So based on the eligible ages, it's the age that you're turning plus the age that you're turning next year. So we can add in Colton, he gets added across. Similarly with the non-playing managers as well. So we might want to remove some people. There's no limit to how many players or non-players you can have in a squad. We can add in Jammy, add him across. You can filter by role here as well. So the squad is important because you want to add everyone in so that when your team managers are selecting the team list, they have everyone. So how do we add players that have been dispensated up? Yep, so once they've gone through the dispensation process and the competition manager has added the dispensation against their record, then you'll be able to add them into the squad. The block won't come up once they've had that dispensation added to their record. Where do you list who the assessing coach is? So the person gets the email. So the competition manager will assign the assessing coach in the member assessments. So there's no member assessments here, but you as a club, this is where you can approve it, and then the competition manager has the same page and they have a little button where they can assign the assessing coach. Great. So once we've done the squad list, we move to match day. So match day is an app. It's available on phone or iPad or tablet. This is what it will look like. So you can just sort of scroll. It's all different. So if we've got an iPhone 12 or if we've got a Galaxy, it will see. So just because I've only got it on a desktop purely for training purposes, so I'm just going to make it bigger so everyone can see. So we have, sorry. We've had a question, is it possible for ineligible players, e.g. 2 of the Colts, to not apply on the available list to be selected at some point? So I'm guessing this is Colts where it might be like under 19s or under 20s. Colts is a little bit interesting in that senior rugby is deemed anything over 18, and then the individual competition puts on those ages. So I'm not sure how we would be able to restrict it. The juniors are quite easy because it's all based on age, where the seniors is anything 18 plus, and then the competition puts on the age level. So yes, so anyone who pays weekly and or monthly, if they do that on a Saturday, you will need to add them to a squad each week before they can be selected. So we've got our team list, we've got our match day, and then we've got this squad list. So if you are a club admin, you will be able to add in players to the squad list on the weekend, so you don't have to take your computer anywhere. You can do it on your phone, which is quite easy, but it's just important that you have to have a club admin in order to see the squad list. If you're just a team admin, you'll see the team list and the match day. So I'm just looking for a club that is in NT, and then we can see you won't have this many clubs. So we've got South Darwin. So here, this is the under 14s. We could always change it to the under 10s. So this is just those people who are eligible for under 10s, and we can add them across to the squad like we did in the admin portal, or you can flick to the non-players and add them across as well. So squad list, and then in the more section, we've got some education and training. So this is where you can find some videos. So rugby events, and then we've got 4 rugby match day app videos. If you watch all 4 of them, it will take you 20 minutes. The longest one is the match day scoring, which takes 6 minutes. The others are 2 to 3 minutes each. We are in the process of doing some new videos. There's a new video coming for sign up, registration, some website ones, and then also a competition setup, and then the draw upload for competition managers as well. So trying to get some more videos out. So an individual registration does not automatically load to the squad list. Individuals have to, or club admins have to add them to the squad list. Yep. Similarly with the referees. So when a referee registers, they need to be added to the appointment board manually as well. So if we go back to the team list, so here we can see that we're up to round 16, then we've got round 17, so the upcoming rounds are going to appear at the top. This game is happening tonight at 9:40, but this game will appear at the top of the screen until midnight tonight, and then tomorrow, if I logged back in, round 17 would be up the top. So we've made some changes so that the upcoming round is nice and easy and at the top for you. Round 1 is going to be the hardest in that you have to select the team from scratch, but then every week afterwards, the previous week's team list will appear. So here we can see all of our coaches and managers plus our players have rolled over. Up the top, you'll see what is required. So this team requires a coach and a team manager. If we try and add someone who does not have a current Smart Rugby, you're going to receive an error. So we can see here, Andrew doesn't satisfy the accreditation requirements. So we can imply from that he doesn't have his current Smart Rugby. Once Andrew updates his Smart Rugby, he'll be able to be added into the team list. Let's see if we can, same with Jamie. But the good news is we've already got 2 coaches. There's a limit of 3 coaches and 3 managers that can be added onto each team list, but Brian and Wesley have their Smart Rugby, so they're all good to go. Thanks, Will. We're doing a great job at building on the Rugby Explorer platform, and the customer service team are bloody awesome. Thank you. Thanks, Will. So I always like to select the coach and manager first, because if you don't have a coach or manager on your list, you won't be able to save the team list. So here we can see our players. You can always remove someone if we want. So Evan's not playing this week. We can go back here and maybe Riley is going to take his position, so as the hooker. There is a small assumption that the team managers do know the rugby positions in a little bit of an order, because as you saw, we took out Evan, we've added in Riley as the hooker, and he's just slotted back into this number 2 position. So they do display in position order. We can always change the jersey number. Here we see we've got 77. We might change it, chase back to 7. There are able to be 3 numbers and or letters. So maybe 241. We've lost the number 3 jersey. Who else are we missing? Missing some of our centers. So Nicholas, left center. Oh, so Nicholas can't be selected because he's currently serving an exclusion because he's got a blue card. A similar error will appear if anyone's got a red card. Or I reckon Christian. Oh no, he's got a blue card too. Finn's all good. We've added him as the left center. Add Lane as the right center. So we can add him all in. So once we're happy with our team list, we can submit. So there's a couple of different options. So Super W, some of the higher senior grades do need to submit a midweek team list. For 99.9% of people, we say select 1 hour. Doesn't matter if it is 1 hour before the game, 1 hour next week or something, you know, like 2 hours before the game or 5 minutes into the game, just select the 1 hour. So what happens if we don't have our jersey numbers for round 1? That's fine. I would select the players based on their positions, and then the jersey number will just default to the position number. Jersey number is also important, but more for the match day. So we're now going to go to match day. So we're going to start scoring. So you want to score my team. So scoring my team, you just have to worry about your team. So if we've added in Bob as a hooker, but he doesn't have a jersey number, you know that if Bob scores a try, you know who to assign the try to. So we want to select first half. Important to note that because I'm the home team in this instance, the left side is all blue and red. If I was university, the right side would all be highlighted. So just be aware if you're home or away, and then that way you can score. So do we need to use matchbooks this season? I would say no. definitely not. You can use all rugby matched out. You may want to double check that with your comp manager. A lot of comps haven't used matchbooks for quite a few seasons. So team admins can't add the team on the web. It's all on the app. So it's just a web version just for me to be able to do training. Everything else is in the app. So we've clicked the first half. If we want to score a try, so maybe Riley, it's good to be able to add a rough match time. It doesn't have to be the exact match time, but this will help with the feed. So the score automatically calculates at the top, and then we can see it in the feed as well. If we get so if Riley kicks the conversion at 6 minutes, so again, the score is automatically calculated and we can see it in the feed. If you do get anything wrong and be like, whoops, wasn't Riley, so we can remove this try. We go back to the scoring, and then it was actually Finn, number 12, not number 2, at 5 minutes. So the score is updated, and then the feed is also updated, so it sort of slots back in. On the top right here, there are 3 little dots. So you can always jump back to the team list if someone has turned up or someone has not turned up at the end of the game. You want to update your team list. You can add in any uncontested scrums. Again, this is based on the level of competition, whether or not you play uncontested scrums and whether you need to report them. We have a dispute match. Ideally, you don't dispute the match because both team managers and the referee will come together at the end of the game and check that everything in the apps is correct. And then also a match forfeit. So if someone has forfeited a match, you've turned up and the opposition hasn't been there, you can add in a forfeit as well. If we add in another try to Archie, 10 minutes. So, but this time the conversion was unsuccessful at 11 minutes. So we can see that the score is calculating and the feed is updating as well. So in the movement, so substitutes, again, based on your competition rules, but a lot of seniors and some of the higher level juniors need to put in the subs. So if you select who's coming off first, they'll appear in red, and then we go down and select who's coming on, and they'll be in green. So this could be at 20 minutes. And then again, this will appear in the feed as well. So then we may have had a yellow card. So there's a couple of reasons here. So maybe it was dissent for Josiah at 30 minutes. So we can confirm that. We can see it in the feed. And then also this little cards gives you a snapshot. So the cards tab plus the score at the end is going to be very useful for the referee, because the referee is most concerned about your score and the cards. They're not so concerned about whether it was Riley or Jake who scored the try. So if the weather cancellation mid-game, for example, lightning, is that a comp manager or a manager adjustment? So that would be based on your comp rules, but generally if the match is abandoned in the second half, so if you play the first half and then maybe 2 minutes of the second half and then there's lightning, often that is counted as the final score. The match is sort of abandoned in the second half, but the score stands. If you play 5 minutes and then the lightning happens in the first half, sometimes that's match abandoned. Up to your comp rules whether or not that is sort of replayed, or if it's a draw, or depends on what happens. Each comp will have a different rule for that. So if we go to the scoring, we can add Chase, 35 minutes. So good. So it's been a good first half for us, 17-0. So then we're going to go into the second half. We're confirming the halftime score. We haven't started off very well. We've gotten a red card. So again, there's a couple of reasons. So dissent, it's going to be thin, 42 minutes. So a little pop-up will appear. So a case is created, email notifications are sent, plus your competition manager is going to be notified. So we can see this in the feed here. So Finn, whoops, cancel. You can always change this if you got the wrong person. We got a yellow and a red card. When we go to score, we'll see that Finn has been added at the bottom and he's red and he can't have any more scores. So with the red and the blue cards, because the player is off for the rest of the game, they cannot have any more scores added against them. Unfortunately, the yellow card isn't as smart. They may just be off for 10 minutes and then they come on, so the system doesn't lock them. Sometimes with juniors or in pathway laws, there is one team that turns up with 12 and the other turns up with 30. So they sort of share some players. So if university had lent me some players and then one of their players scored, I want to obviously put the try against my team, but I don't have them on my list. So we can just skip this. It comes up as a 22. So the try is calculated, but it comes up as a team try. So you don't want to do everything as a team try, because I'm sure a lot of your players are going to get annoyed when they should be the leading try scorer for the year, but the team manager hasn't been entering it in correctly. So the skip or the team try should be used in the sort of pathway laws where they've been changing. So in the movements, do you select injury or tactical? So I would say based on the situation, so if it was a tactical, so often in seniors, they have 8 subs, just taking the hooker off to give him a rest, he's not coming back on, you could use that as tactical. There is the blood injury. So if someone has some blood running down their leg, they go off for 5 to 10 minutes and then come back on, you can use the blood, and then you can also use the injury as well to report on all of those. Right. So we might just score one more try, Lane, at 55 minutes. So a convincing win, 27-0. Just remembered that last year too many team tries could affect bonus points. Is that a competition rule? Maybe. So the competition manager can set up the bonus points either for 4 tries scored or losing by less than 7 points, or there's also another one that was the old Super Rugby one, which is a 3 try difference for the winning team. Most people use the 4 tries and the less than 7 points. Yeah. I just probably recommend to not use the team try unless you've got a legitimate reason, because it will also affect all your club reporting on player stats and things like that. Can I do one more sub? Of course. So maybe for this one, we'll do a blood injury. So we're taking off Chase, and then we're adding on Noah at 60 minutes. So we can confirm that. So here we've got Chase and then Noah, and then we can do the reverse as well. So Chase went off, he's gotten patched up, he's all good to go. So we can go back to the moving. So the person that you're taking off is in red. So Noah's coming off, and then we're adding on Chase. Where did he go? Here he is. So he's in green, and this could be at 70 minutes. So here we go. We can see that Chase came off, Noah came on, and then a few minutes later, Noah came off and Chase came on. Any other questions? So at the end of the game, both team managers are going to come together with the referee, show them both their apps. So University, unfortunately, didn't have a very good game. So they didn't score any tries or points, but they will still have their app. And then they can also see that I've added in my yellow and red card. If you see that the opposition hasn't added in any cards, you can sort of wait for them to do it or ask them to do it. And then the referee should also see on both apps that there was a red and a yellow card for Swamp Dogs. University were good, and then it was 27-0. So if we can end the game, so you want to confirm the scores. And then if we just change. So when both teams have updated and sort of submitted the match, it does become locked. And when perfect. So if we go back in and we can see that both teams have finalized the score, and might go back in and try and score my team, it's all blocked out. So I can't do anything. It's all blocked away. If there is anything that is missing or needs to be changed, that will need to go to the competition manager. But ideally, before you submit end, you check everything, both the team managers and the referee agree, and then it's good to go. So if we go back to the PowerPoint, so we went through the match day app. So rugby events, so there were a couple of clubs that ran some rugby events, so you do need to become an association in order to run your event. It's only required the first time that you run the rugby event. Once you've done it once, or once you're already created as an association, you can run multiple events throughout the year or over different years, and then you submit a rugby event, which then goes to New South Wales Rugby, and they will approve or decline it. We do have some help videos that are available. So there's one on the setup. That one does go for about 6 minutes, but then there's also 2 for the participants. One to register a team, and then registering a player or a coach into a team. The referee appointment system. So phase 1 went live in March last year, and then phase 2, we are currently working on it at the moment. Last week, there were some updates. So the referee cannot put in any unavailability if they've already been appointed. We've fixed some of the reporting sorting options as well, and the TBA games. So if there is a match that is marked as TBA, so it doesn't have any teams, you can still appoint and send notifications to the referee. The most important thing is it needs to have a venue. Once there is a venue, you can send that. If there's no venue, you definitely need to talk to your competition manager so that you can send that notification out. Once the teams are selected for those games, the player will also get a notification to say that the game's changed, but it's just the teams as well. So we're working on some other updates for the refs as well. They should be coming out in the next couple of weeks. So future development, so the custom questions went live. The pro subscription is available, our club finder enhancements. So get into your My Club details, contacts, game formats, update all of that so it's displaying correctly. We're working on RAS phase 2 at the moment. We are looking at the possibility of how we could do team chat, and then also rugby events phase 2 as well. So we want to make some changes to the rugby events, make it sort of easier for everyone as well. There are a couple of updated policies this year which are important. So the code of conduct and the member protection have been updated. If you do any of the Rugby Explorer courses in the Learning Centre, the new code of conduct module will be in there. You can also do it as a standalone course as well. So Rugby Explorer resources, we've got heaps. So the club admin, the help website, we've got self-help guides, we've got some videos. So there are new videos coming as well in the next sort of 2 weeks. We've segmented based on like sort of participants and then the admins on a different page. There are 3 Learning Centre courses for Rugby Explorer as well. So anyone who wasn't able to come today but is a team admin, maybe they could do the team admin plus watch the videos through the app. Some important web pages, so the registration, insurance, and then the club admin pack as well. Any other questions? Did you have an error with the code of conduct, Danielle? Thanks, Catherine. Thanks, Jeff. Oh, so sometimes with the code of conduct, you have to go down, or if you haven't clicked on all of the boxes, it's going to lock from the next bit forming. So just double check that you've clicked everything and read everything and scrolled down, and then it should open for you. Thanks, Tony. Yep, Stephen, I'll send you a list. Yep, so the article is locked, so it means that you haven't clicked on something. Sometimes there's like 4 boxes, and if you click on them, they'll flip, and then once you've flipped, all good. Perfect. Thanks, guys. So the saleable items, so you update them within your payment settings. Thank you all. Okay. If anyone wants to see, I'm just going to go on the Learning Center and see if I can do the code of conduct. 1 second. Okay. So I'm on the code of conduct, so I'm enrolling. I agree. I finish. Oh, so this is already showing for me because I've already done it. But are you saying you get to like here and there's like a little lock? I think it's, yeah. So I would definitely try and click things. So here says select the image. So you have to click things and they change. And then once you've done that, then you can actually proceed through. Look out for like little, like the little things here, select each picture. So if you click on them, it should open up. Mine's not showing because I've already done it. I'm sorry. Perfect. Well, thank you all for joining. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday night. Good night, everyone.